He owns and operates the Pack-A-Day podcast that airs 365 days a year with over 12 million views on YouTube. A new adventure begins. It's time for the Pack-A-Day radio show with Andy Herman on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
Clifford. Johnson. Nice block in there. Thrown by Butler. He'll drive. He'll get another block from the quarterback. He'll take it in. That is a Green Bay touchdown. What a play with the quarterback Clifford leading the way.
Good morning, Packers Nation. Happy Monday. Welcome into the Pack-A-Day radio show live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. That's the only play that actually took place in preseason on Saturday was the Amar Johnson touchdown run. Nothing else actually happened during the course of the entire game. We're going to break it all down for you right here on the Pack-A-Day radio show. Again, my name is Andy Herman. I really appreciate you guys being here. We've got Jacob Morley coming up 8:20 a.m. today. Pack-A-Day podcast, PackerReport.com. Really excited to talk with Jacob. I would also love for you to join the show. Nicolay Law Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. That Amar Johnson touchdown run, courtesy of Packers TV. It was pretty much one of the only entertaining plays for Green Bay in that particular game. Tommy Wartz, our super producer, I want to bring in right away. Tommy, I have an assignment for you right off the bat.
All right.
I want you to give me your raw, unfiltered, unadulterated, pure vitriolic thoughts on preseason week one. How much you care, how much you don't care, what you're ticked off about, any extreme direction that you want to go in here. The floor is yours, my friend.
That was basically what I thought the entire time, Andy. I mean, I was all in on letting the starters get some action. I thought that it was helpful for Green Bay to get some rhythm going. They're still a very young team across the NFL. We're going to hear that all season like we did the last two seasons now. And I was very disappointed that there was really maybe 3 people that looked good after the game on Saturday. I don't know if it's more than 5. I don't think you could say like 5 guys had an awesome game going into Sunday after Saturday's action. I thought that everyone looked sloppy. I thought we saw a lot of the same issues that we saw in years past of Green Bay with this team and with this style of team. And I also calm myself down by saying it's preseason, week one. I don't care, and it shouldn't be really worth anything. But honestly, Amar Johnson saved it because at least there was something positive to play for Monday right here. I thought Anthony Belton had a pretty good day. And the punter, Danny Whalen. I don't know if I can go much more after that.
And I think everything that you just said is fair. And I want to clarify something before I'm going to say what I'm going to say, because I have a very, very, very strong take on this, and I feel like I'm kind of losing my mind here. All right. The first thing is that I understand I get to be in a little bit of a different position, right? And what I mean by that is I get to be out there from Packers rookie minicamp, OTAs, training camp, family night, and everything that happened up until this point, including being out there at preseason game one. For most people, for the vast majority of people, their last Packers memory, outside of maybe like the NFL draft, but we're not talking on the field stuff, the last Packers memory is losing 3 consecutive games to the Minnesota Vikings, the Chicago Bears, and then ultimately the Philadelphia Eagles. 3 poor losses when it mattered most, and that is what has stuck with people over the course of the offseason. And now, after an entire offseason of hope springing eternal, and you sign some new players, and you do the full NFL draft, and it's a new season, and you bring in a new defensive line coach, and everything's going to be perfect. And the very first introduction to the 2025-2026 Green Bay Packers is a preseason game where it looks like you didn't even show up whatsoever. And to your point, it's fart noise, whatever you want to do. It was as ugly as it could possibly look. I totally understand that. And it is one of those games where you see the individual players don't look great. It looks like, what are we doing on offense and defense? Things are way too easy over the middle. Justin Fields is running everywhere. And everything just feels like complete, total, and utter garbage. All right. Now that I got that out.
Oh, no.
Tommy, this could not matter any less if it possibly tried to.
Absolutely.
It has no bearing whatsoever on anything that's going to happen. From Josh Jacobs playing one snap to Nate Hobbs not playing to Dontavian Wicks not playing. We can go on and on. The 20, whatever players that actually matter that didn't even play in this game. The step further of like even the players that did playing a series or two, maybe at most. And yes, there's a handful of players that did play that are going to be on this roster. I would actually argue the closer that I look at this, a lot of the players that did play throughout the game that are actually going to, make this team and have rotational roles. Guys like Jordan Morgan, second round pick, Anthony Belton, Colby Wooden, Kingsley Enagbare, Brenton Cox, Baron Sorrell. There are actually a lot of those type of players who actually played, Tyron Hopper, who actually played pretty darn well in this game in individual moments. That is actually encouraging as I was able to kind of go back and watch this a little bit more. I have seen so many people, and I mean, so many. Usually, I understand that this is like, first of all, fan is short for fanatic. I also understand that, again, this is a passionate fan base, which I absolutely love. And I love that there are the ebbs and flows and the highs and the lows, and I can ride that wave. And I also understand that sometimes there is a very vocal majority that's just going to be really angry or really excited no matter what happens in any given game. I have seen so many people that, like, I have one comment from this morning on the YouTube channel. Same old after the game. LaFleur had the same old BS excuses. I realize it's a preseason game, but then it's poorly coached and undisciplined. Time for a coaching change in Green Bay. The offense the next one is LaFleur's offense looks so predictable. If LaFleur struggles this year, I'd move on from him. I can't even begin to tell you, both on social media, and again, I get social media is not real, but on Twitter and on YouTube and on pretty much everywhere else, I have seen the same overall kind of concept. The one I want to highlight here is LaFleur's offense looks so predictable. Yes, it did. It was supposed to look predictable. Do you know how many of the same slant play and the same just like very most basic day one install plays that they ran on offense so that they are basically just keeping everything fresh for the start of the regular season? And then I know the follow-up. Yeah, but Andy, Jeff Hafley actually did a couple things on defense. He brought some simulated pressures. He, screamed Evan Williams back into the secondary. For sure. There were a couple things like that. Mostly day two install stuff and some stuff either A, they probably wanted to put on tape, or stuff that isn't necessarily exactly schemed up for the New York Jets. They don't scheme it. They don't game plan it. They don't prepare. Like, that is not what you're supposed to be doing in preseason. Kirk Benkert, I can disagree with a lot of the stuff sometimes that, Kirk Benkert says, but he is spot on his particular evaluation of Packers preseason. And he says, quote, "The tough part about watching Packers preseason football is that the philosophy is running base generic plays with zero help scheme-wise." Matt LaFleur echoed this yesterday and had to give the caveat of, "I'm trying not to make excuses," just because it comes across as an excuse no matter how you say it. There's nothing to actually help the offensive players have an advantage like they wouldn't in a normal game. It makes it hard to evaluate. Meanwhile, there's other teams that are absolutely dialing it up and airing it out with different splits, motions, everything. It's just like playing two different games, and it is a complete waste of time philosophically, in my opinion. All right. It is vanilla. It is basic. The guys aren't playing. The guys that are playing are going through basically the motions. And I have a fun way to wrap this up, Tommy. Before I want to get your thoughts on my rant here too. Do you remember it may be Rocky 3, Rocky 2, Rocky 4? I forget which Rocky is which Rocky, okay?
Who's he
I think
fighting?
It's Rocky.
Yeah, who's he
Rocky
fighting?
3, the one with Clubber Lang is what we're talking about here, all right? Rocky goes into an exhibition match with Hulk Hogan, in this case, Thunderlips, and he's expecting just like, hey, it's exhibition time. We're going to go through some fun stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're going to put on a show for the crowd. It doesn't really matter. And the person across from him, in this case, the late Hulk Hogan, Thunderlips, takes it extremely seriously, and he gets caught off guard, and he's like, what the heck is happening? And then it takes him a while to sort of adjust to that, and it does. Eventually, in Rocky, it goes fine because it's Rocky, and he wins in the end, but he's completely taken off guard by it. It's not exactly to that extent, but the Jets have a new coach in Aaron Glenn that are trying to set a culture and a philosophy in their first preseason game. And this actually matters a little bit to them. And for Green Bay, it doesn't matter at all. They are going to be judged by what happens in December, January, and hopefully February, not on August 9th. It is, again, no bearing whatsoever. And you could almost feel of like the Jets came out more physical, more intense, calling a few more plays that actually matter. And then all of a sudden, when you're starting to like adjust to it, by the time like you've actually been like, oh, okay, like this is not just like they're not playing this like a normal exhibition game. Well, by that time, it's Malik Willis time. You've got backup offensive linemen in. Then Malik Willis has the fumble in the end zone, and it's a sack fumble. And good luck in the preseason trying to play from behind and do anything, because you have backup offensive linemen that are far behind backup defensive linemen, and you're going to get pressured the entire time, and it's just going to look very, very ugly, which is exactly what it did. So I could not stress nor care anymore. It's going to sound like some as a cope or rose tinted glasses. I think most of you will know that I try to take this stuff, everything very analytically. I cannot believe, I am stunned, shocked, flabbergasted, flummoxed that there is any care whatsoever about what happens in a preseason game. And for people saying like, I've never, like this happened against the Broncos last year in preseason week 2. It had no bearing. Do you remember in the Philadelphia Eagles game when they lost in the playoffs, when everyone was like, you see, this is exactly what happened against the Broncos in week 2 of preseason. It doesn't matter. All right, Tommy.
I can definitely sympathize with you on that, Andy. It does not matter. It does not have any bearings. But I will say that what are things that are fair to evaluate then in the preseason game? What are things that why play the games other than, okay, we want to get some TV money and sell some tickets if there is nothing to evaluate? Because if someone does something awesome, you are going to say, hey, he was awesome, right?
I mean, cool.
Lamar Johnson, right? He scores the touchdown. Now it's interesting for running back 3 or running back 4, right? Because no one else could get anything done. The offensive line play looked pretty poor the entire game, and it feels like that's something that's going to be evaluated play in, play out, no matter what's happening as well. I understand Jordan Love got 2 series. He really was not doing anything too crazy. Matthew Golden had 1 catch, and he looked the best of any of the receivers on top of that. So, what is fair to evaluate then? Because there was a lot of negative to look back on when you could see, in film breakdowns I saw from Dusty and others over the week, like Isaiah Simmons looked terrible during this game. And there was so many people looking to look at the new pieces, right? If you want it to really mean nothing, Andy, don't play them. Wait till joint practices. Don't have any sort of excuse for anyone to evaluate if you don't want to go all the way. Now I think, Andy, a fair question is, like, are they going to play week 2? Are starters going to play week 2 now?
No.
Because
so Matt said this, no starters week 2. They're going to do joint practices, and then they're going to do joint practices in week 3 and play the starters a bit in week 3 as well.
I hate that.
Here's the key word that you said, evaluate, right? That is what the entire preseason is for, is to evaluate, and primarily evaluate younger players who are in the game for the first time. And it's not even necessarily there's obviously a piece of like, all right, you're matched up. Romeo Doubs is matched up one-on-one against Sauce Gardner. What does that look like? And you get to evaluate a little bit of that in a one-on-one situation, which again, you have to understand is not done with any scheme help, is not done with any game planning, is not done with any of that, right? But you can get some of that of like good on good, and what do you get in that situation? Hat tip to Sauce Gardner on that particular matchup. But what you're looking for is a lot from these younger players of, did they run the assignment correctly? Did they have their technique the way that you've been coaching it all off season? And I think for a lot of it, the answer of that stuff is no, they did not. They were not technically sound. We heard Matt yesterday talk a lot about players who, like Anthony Belton, for example, where it's a safety blitz. He fans out to go to the safety, which is never supposed to happen on that particular play. The running back's responsible for the blitz pickup. He fans out, which puts Jacob Monk in a complete no man's land situation, which then he gets the holding penalty because he's trying to just make sure his quarterback doesn't get annihilated. Probably the right thing in that situation. Everyone looks at that particular play and it's like, oh my God, Jacob Monk, what a terrible play, when it was actually Anthony Belton the one. So you get to evaluate all of the little nuances of, are you playing the scheme, like not the scheme, but are you playing the play the right way? And are you doing all the things assignment-wise that you're supposed to? And then you can evaluate those things, go and make the corrections, and then see again from players that are trying to make this team, which ones did the right things, which ones didn't, and evaluate that appropriately. All right. So I gave my overarching response at the beginning of this of how I feel about this, and that it's all irrelevant. Why I can understand why people are frustrated. And again, if you look at what happened end of last year, fast forward, kind of everyone just takes that middle out of everything that happened in the offseason and their first impression of this team. First impressions matter. Are everything that happened wrong last year went wrong basically in this game. Drops, fumbles, lack of focus, all that stuff. I get it. I understand it. I totally do. I think if you want to be frustrated about something in this game to a level that I legitimately do understand, is that there have been three things that this franchise in a round, if you really kind of look closely at it, have really stressed this offseason. From the very first moment of the offseason where Brian Gutekunst said, I want to stress urgency. It is time for these young players and everyone to understand that it's time to start winning football games at a high level. It's time to start winning championships. The very first message of the offseason from anyone in the organization was urgency. The second thing, and you have to look at this one a little bit closely, but if you've really paid attention to some of the things that they've done, both from a draft standpoint and how they've signed free agents, again, guys like Belton and Aaron Banks, but also just some of the things that they've said, you can tell that they very much wanted to add a level of toughness and physicality to this team on both sides of the ball. Nate Hobbs is another example of this, and play with a different sort of demeanor throughout the course of the season. And then the last thing, when Matt LaFleur was asked about what he really wants it to be the focus on training camp and preseason, he said attention to detail. Attention to detail was his big thing. He said, like, in order for us to be great, it's going to happen in the details. It's not going to be just the normal stuff day to day. It's going to be the real strong attention to detail stuff. Tommy, I think you can make a strong argument they went 0 for 3 in this particular preseason game. There was no urgency whatsoever. There was zero attention to detail, and they got out-physicaled and out-muscled throughout the entirety of that game.
Well, and Andy, like, it was so undisciplined throughout the game. Like, I've never seen so many fights in a preseason game, too. Like, if it's like, who cares and what's going on? Like, what's the issue with that, too? It was just so, sloppy on, holding penalties and defensive penalties. But then on top of it, like, we're going to throw punches in week 1 of NFL preseason. Like, that shows like no control of the team almost for a second there. And I also don't want it to sound like I am critical of Matt LaFleur, because I don't want to judge him off of this game, and I do want him to be the coach of the Green Bay Packers for a very long time. But also, like, what are you doing? Why are people going out swinging, fighting? And I sound like an old man screaming at a cloud for that too. Like, I know how I played when I was in the game too, but still, like, you're professionals playing week 1 of NFL preseason, and all of a sudden, like, it's a boxing match.
It was the whole thing was bowling shoe ugly, as Jim Ross would be apt to say.
Yes.
Like, it was not pretty from any stretch of the imagination. I totally get that. It's not what you're hoping for as, again, your first impression of the team. It just felt like they were sort of in no man's land. And I think, first and foremost, you get to a game like that, you get to see an opponent across from you for the first time. All you've seen is green and gold, in practices. And all of a sudden somebody says something to you, you get a little bit fired up, and maybe some of your emotions get the best of you. Not excusing it, but you saw a little bit of that. But also, again, like, not exactly game planning, playing for the game, things like that. You're just a little bit in a no man's land situation.
So, Andy, like, now, not to, like, move it on to the topic here, but, like, if you were, you are all about analytics and evaluating, right? Like, if someone increased their stock, who do you point to after that game on Saturday?
I think Jordan Morgan definitely had a really solid performance in that game. That was a little bit exciting. Amar Johnson definitely helped his stock. I don't know if he can get in that 53-man conversation, but as I talked about with Perry and Maggie on today's show, and I think Maggie put it perfectly, he started his campaign for, like, hey, like, pay attention to me. I deserve to be focused on a little bit more. I do think on the flip side, there were definitely some players that hurt their stock. McCole Hardman is a great example of somebody that, like, he has to make it as a punt returner. He gets 2 opportunities, and he gets down inside the 5 and then muffs the punt on the other one, and drops a pass at wide receiver with extended action. That was a really ugly look for McCole Hardman. He certainly hurt himself. Isaiah Simmons, you mentioned, right? Isaiah Simmons is somebody that I've been preaching, like, no matter how good he looks in camp, be careful, because every single time this guy gets on the field on defense, it has not been something that is a net positive. It is usually a net negative. And on Saturday we saw it was a net negative when he was out on the field. So I still think he is a very strong bet to make the roster just because of his special teams. We saw him as the primary gunner out there, and he looked good doing that. But overall, like, that was a more of a wake up call of like, hey, he's still got work to do if he wants to for sure lock in a roster spot. Thought Christian Welch helped himself a little bit, although it's tough with Christian Welch when he had the preseason to end all preseasons in 2024 and they still released him. So I don't know what he needs to do in 2025 to ultimately make the team. But there were a few positives. There were a few negatives as you kind of go back and watch it. I'm in the process of going through and watching the All-22 and grading every player on every play right now. So by tomorrow, for sure, I'll have my guys that I graded the highest, graded the lowest, and we can definitely talk about, who ultimately really, really had a bad day. But definitely some individual players that hurt themselves in that game to a large extent. And now we'll see how it kind of goes. And by the way, Tommy, it's probably not going to get a whole heck of a lot better when they don't play their starters in week 2.
Elgersma time, baby. Elgersma
It's a lot
time.
of Taylor Elgersma time over the course of this next week and whatnot. But hopefully we get good reports from the joint practice, and that will be kind of the key takeaway. Because if you go into Indy in the joint practice and it's the same thing and it's a really poor practice, then people are going to again maybe rightfully hit the panic a little bit more. But yeah, I'm still very stunned at overall the idea that, I mean, I got my first Fire LaFleur tweet 4 minutes into the first preseason game of the year. So
look, we need the best block of the day to not come from a quarterback. Okay, that's what we need. I mean, it was a great block by Sean.
Anthony Belton did pancake somebody on that same play in a very physical fashion. So but I get what you're saying. Would just like to see something to be positive about. That's all I was looking for. There was not a lot of that until the Amar Johnson run. The state of Wisconsin only has so much good juju to give out, and the Milwaukee Brewers are suctioning all of it from everyone.
Oh,
so
my God.
We'll take that right now in the games that actually matter from the team that matters right now. And the Packers preseason, it doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we kick off segment 3 a little bit later as well. All right, if you missed anything, you want to go back and hear me rant about how none of this matters, you can check us out on the Odyssey app, thefanmilwaukee.com, or of course over on YouTube as well. We have 74, mostly cloudy, high of 84, low of 70 today in Milwaukee, and there is a flood warning until 10 a.m. Feeling for you guys that are out there. I know I have family members who got a flooded basement. I have a really good friend who's got a flooded basement. I know it's not been an ideal weekend from that aspect, so I hope you guys are doing well, and just be safe out there as well with the flood warning. We have Jacob Morley coming up here in just a moment. This is the Pack-A-Day Radio Show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back to the Pack a Day Radio Show, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, and powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Reminder, the Mason Crosby Show is coming up next from 9 to 11, so do not go anywhere. Right now, we are being joined by the wonderful Jacob Morley on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. Jacob Morley, you can find on social media at Jacob Morley appropriately, and of course on the Pack a Day podcast, Packer Report as well. Jacob, it is wonderful to be chatting with you. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good. All things considered, the team is never going to win a game. Coaches are going to get fired. They're going to cut 90 guys this week, I think, right? Isn't that what you heard? They're going to just completely flip this thing, right?
Revamp the roster. Yeah, it's going to change over. There is a practice today not open to the public, and I'm just expecting a totally different coaching staff, player pool, everything. It's going to be a complete changeover. We obviously say in jest. Jacob, I vented already with sort of the thoughts on this game, meaning this doesn't mean anything, and I'm surprised. I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm surprised as to the overarching feel of like the sky is falling from a preseason game. But what did you take away from this game? I just want to give you that floor first, and I'll let you go in any direction you want.
I mean, it wasn't good. No one can sit here and be like, yeah, that's what we wanted. And I think Coach LaFleur hit on that at halftime and after the game. We kind of got spicy Matt LaFleur in his pressers, and rightfully so. But you're right. It really doesn't matter. It is an exhibition game. It's a game, and this is going to all sound like copium, right? But it is a game against a team with a brand new head coach that wanted to come out there and prove something. And they did. Good on them. But how many times have we seen a team go 4-0 in the preseason and then just be bad? And how many times have we seen teams, do whatever in the preseason, then come out with their starters and be good? So, by November, we won't be probably thinking about this, but it is what it is. And you certainly wanted to see more out of certain guys, but we got 2 more weeks for these kind of mid-tier to bottom of the roster guys to show why they are in the NFL. We've got joint practices this week, and I think we'll see some more positive news coming out after this week. And the last thing is, if you were frustrated, I promise you the guys are frustrated too. I promise you the players are not happy with what they put on tape. So really what I think we need to be looking for is how do they respond to that? What does this week look like? Do they come out with a little bit different level of intensity? I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also think there's sort of sometimes you feel like in practice, like you're at a certain level and things are going in the right direction and you're trending. And then you finally get that first litmus test and just to sort of recalibrate. And I do feel like this was just sort of a recalibration moment of we were playing at a certain level of urgency in practice so far against our own teammates. And then when we got to see it out in the field, there was a different level to that. And now it's time to up that level and sort of recalibrate that level of urgency a little bit. So, and I think they will. And I don't know what that looks like in a preseason week 2 when they're not going to play any of their starters. It could look ugly again this week, but I do think overall that's not the worst thing to kind of have that moment early on in preseason to sort of readjust the volume and turn it maybe from a 5 to an 8 as they move forward here. And then as a 10, hopefully going into the regular season. Let me ask this. Are there any real, tangible, legitimate concerns that you have coming out of this game? Anything that you're like, you know what, this actually does feel a little bit real to me?
I mean, I think the biggest concern is the drops still. You look at this team from last year and what really plagued the offense was drops. And then they come out and, guys that you expect to maybe be on the team, like Romeo has a drop. Malik is fighting for a roster spot. He's got drops. It's things like that. And the other thing is, and again, that's number one. Number 2 is if you really want to dig deep into it, like Zach Tom got beat once, which is, that happens. But I think the biggest thing with this team, and this is projecting, right? But I think in the past, they've got really good players, but their good players need to ascend into great players or better than just good to beat some of these high-end, these teams with other great players. Because when you have a bunch of good players, you're going to win a lot of games against teams that you're better than. But when those good players don't ascend to great players, that's when it's tough to beat those really, really good teams. So that is one play that I'm extrapolating on. But that it's true. These guys that are getting paid, and I don't want to speak ill of the Zach Toms or the Rashawn Garys of the world, because I think they're really good players who can take that step to be great, but they need to do it, and so I think if you're projecting and looking upon this season and then looking forward, like those are the guys that really need to take a step forward and go from good to great.
No, I think that's a fair concern, and I think that's very well said, and I'm 1,000,000% in agreement in the fact that they are going to need some players to become real star players in this league, whether that's Pro Bowl, All-Pro, whatever it might be. You need a few of those guys, if not more, to kind of carry you. Look back at 96, look at 2010, and look at the real star players on those teams. You need those guys to carry you through some of the very difficult situations that are going to arise in the playoffs. Let me ask you on the flip side, as we're being joined by Jacob Morley. Find him on social media at Jacob Morley. Of course, Pack-A-Day Podcast, PackerReport.com. We talked about maybe what does matter. What doesn't matter at all? What's maybe being talked about that when you look at this preseason game, you're just like, that could not matter any less?
I think you look at the offense and you really talk about like what is vanilla offense. Go watch the route concepts they were running. It's like grade school basic day one install. If we're not NFL day one install, it is grade school basic day one install. Yeah, and so it's like, and then go watch them in the regular season. That's just so not Matt. He's going to cook up some stuff. He's going to do some unique stuff to get guys free and open. And this really was just, hey, go run a slant, go run an out. It's like your 1 through 9 route tree. You got this, you got this, you got this. Go run it. That stuff, like on offense, I don't care about that. You look at, like, I know people were dogging Jordan for being 1 of 5. I don't care at all. The positive, I'm going to flip it to a positive, though, is the one guy that was able to get open on these really, really simple things was the rookie, Matthew Golden. And If you want to get excited about something, and I know the hype train is going off the rails for Matthew Golden, but man, that one, the slant he ran was impressive, and 2, drawing a PI against an All-Pro is impressive. So in his limited snaps in a very vanilla offense, basically just saying go do your best versus their best and be able to win in the even though it's the preseason. That's exciting.
Yeah, no, very much so. I think Matthew Golden, again, just beginning to realize what he can do on an NFL field, and I think that's going to be a very exciting thing to continue to watch moving forward. You mentioned Matthew Golden, but were there any other players that actually helped themselves in this game? I know it was a very ugly game overall, but is there anyone that actually, maybe got themselves in a better situation, or maybe got themselves in a roster or a position where maybe now they can actually make a roster?
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 guys I think a lot of people have been talking about, the 2 tackles, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, and then the rookie edge rusher, Barron Sorrell. I think those 3 guys really jumped off the film when you go back and watch. Morgan, I think for the first time, we saw him really look the part at tackle. Going back to last year, I know he mostly played guard. We didn't really get to see him do this. This was really the first live bullet action we've seen him at left tackle, and he held his own. Like he looked the part. He looked good. He looked like a guy that can play in this league. Now, can he build on that? Can he continue to grow? I think he can. He's a first-round draft pick for a reason. He's extremely talented. So I'm excited to see him kind of progress and see what he can do and build on that. Anthony Belton, who, hand up, I was not excited about that Anthony Belton pick in round 2. And you can go back and listen to the Pack-A-Day Podcast draft recaps. I think Ross Uglem and I were confused about that pick, to say the least. And I'm already willing to say, hey, I think I might have been wrong about that, because whatever the Packers saw in him, kind of the road grader bully that they've been looking for on the offensive line, I think they may have found it with him. I had a tweet the other day, and this was mostly, I'm over-exaggerating, but Anthony Belton he had 3 plays where he just completely put a guy on their keister.
Annihilated,
right?
Yep.
And we don't, and this isn't a knock. I think Green Bay is really, really good, maybe the best at developing offensive line talent in the NFL. But they don't develop guys like that always, where you go out there and say, wow, he really just imposed his will on an NFL player. They don't have a ton of guys like that. So even though, yes, it's against second-string guys, it's against third-string guys, you want to see it, and it's exciting to see when he does stuff like that. Now, is he going to stay at tackle? Is he going to stay at guard? I don't really care if you're going to be just paving the way like that. So they'll find a spot for him. I don't know if it's going to be this year. Maybe not. Probably injuries would have to play with that. But We'll see. And then the last guy, Barron Sorrell, the edge, the rookie edge player out of Texas. I don't know. I still don't know why he was available when he was. I mean, you look at this kid. You it's like you draw an edge player in a lab. That's what he looks like. He's got the size. He's got the intangibles. He's got the athleticism. Oh, and then Andy, did you know that he was really productive in the SEC too at a big time? Like I don't get why he was drafted where he was. And then he comes out in week 1, and he jumped off the page. You go look at, I think his PFF pass rushing grade was around 90 as well. And I don't always agree with PFF, but I agree with that one. I do agree with that one because he was a handful, and he did it. And what's exciting about him is he did it in different ways. He didn't just go run through a guy's face 4 times and get pressures. I mean, he had his entire tool bag on display as a young player. So I am excited, very bullish on him. I think he is not only ready to play right now, I think he's still got room to get better. You look at a guy like when Enigbare came into the league, I kind of compare – Sorrell is kind of like him with more upside and athleticism. Like Enigbare was kind of ready to play. He had a tool bag. He had a pass rush plan at all times. And Sorrell looks like that already. But then, gosh, you look at like the athleticism that he has too. Like he can get better. So he's someone that I would highlight as well. Those would be my 3 guys. And I know those are like the 3 guys everyone's talking about, but it kind of is true. There wasn't a lot else to kind of take from this game. It's like, oh, those guys played really well. So, but then I had someone in my mention say something like, if you would tell me that our 2 young offensive line prospects looked really good in their first preseason game, I don't really care what else happened. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's true, because these are guys that might actually play as well. So those are 3 guys to watch, I think, the rest of the year and be excited about.
Well, it's so funny because as you were saying that, I'm like, if you could almost handpick 3 guys in this game that you would have really wanted, and add Matthew Golden to that as well, right, in his limited playing time. If you could have handpicked the guys that you're like, I really hope these players play well. I mean, it doesn't get you're not looking too far from Matthew Golden, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, and Barron Sorrell. And especially 3 of those guys have seen a little bit of extended action too. Those would have been players that would have been at or near the top of my list of players who I would have liked to play well. And I tweeted out yesterday, I'm actually pretty stunned going back and watching the tape of how vanilla certain stuff was, which made me feel even better. Just of, again, what they were actually trying to accomplish in some of the stuff that they were calling, but also, again, some of the players that actually are going to make this team. I would even add, Kingsley Enigbare, I thought had a nice game. A couple of the young defensive tackles, like some of the players that actually I did want to see play well, actually did play well in this one, which was a little bit, again, surprising based on how the overall product looked. So I think there was some more positive takeaways there. Of course, there is a flip side as well. Again, we're being joined by Jacob Morley, Pack-A-Day Podcast, PackerReport.com. Find him on social media at Jacob Morley. Who is somebody that really hurt their cause, or maybe multiple players that hurt their cause in this particular game?
Well, so while this game was being played, I was having my fantasy football draft, and I live in Kansas City, so a lot of my buddies are Chiefs fans. A lot of my buddies write for like KCSN, right? And so we're watching the game, and it's split screen, and it's not. And by the way, I got a lesson. It's not Mecole, it's McCole, because I kept saying Mecole, so they're like, "No, it's McCole." I was like, "Okay," but I mean, gosh, every time he messed up, no one was like, "Oh man." Everyone was just kind of like, "Yeah, that's what he does." And I'm just like, "What, really?" Like, he was an all-pro punt returner. Like, mm-hmm. And like, this guy won a Super Bowl for you with the last-second touchdown catch. Yep. Like, no, like, I mean, can you imagine if a guy like that did that in Green Bay? He would be revered forever and ever.
Ever, yeah.
So, and the fact that they're just kind of all like, "Yeah, we don't," like, whatever. And so that's kind of who he is. And so I'm just like, "Ooh, okay, that's not good." I don't know. And I don't mean to dog on the guy at all, because like, he has been an all-pro. He has caught a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. But if you're trying to make a team as a punt returner, that is about as bad as it gets. I mean, I can't imagine what else he could have done negatively. So I don't know. He put himself in a hole, and I don't know if he can dig himself out of it. Maybe he can, because they don't really have another option as a punt returner. I know they really want him to take that job and run with it. So that wasn't great. Another guy, I mean, yeah, Jacob Monk struggled big time. I mean, he did not look like an NFL offensive lineman. That doesn't mean he isn't. It means he maybe just had a bad game. But that's another guy that if you're earmarking who needs to play well the rest of the way, he's right up at the top, because I think, gosh, before this, most people kind of had him locked in on the 53. I don't know if that is a lock anymore. I think they might start looking for someone else. They might start saying, well, Donovan Jennings, let's work on your snapping. Let's get you up to speed, because I know they've kind of been trying to do it anyways. So we'll see. I think those two guys really headline it as far as who looked rough. And that's too bad, because it's a game where a lot of guys look rough. So if you're kind of at the top of the pile of that, that's not a good sign.
Not
so
great. No.
I think, those two guys probably are the headliners as far as like, guys you need to play better the next 2 weeks if you want to play on this team on the 53.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. McCole Hardman, he's going to need maybe a couple Desmond Howard moments moving forward if he's going to want to make that team as a punt return. That's a rough look for him. And then, as you look at Jacob Monk, that's another one where, like, I'm starting to get. I thought Belton and Morgan were very good positives in this game, so that buoyed me a little bit. But now with Travis Glover being out, Monk not looking good. I mean, Jennings has not, specifically when they've tried him at center, has not looked very good in camp, or I thought in preseason either. And you start looking at that offensive line a little bit more, and you're like, all right, they've got 7 guys, and again, even one of those is a rookie in Anthony Belton. And after that, I was hoping for maybe some players to step up a little bit more, whether that be a Monk or a Jennings or a Glover or a Telford or something, and that has not really happened. And I get, you look around the NFL at all 32 teams, and you start looking at their 8th offensive lineman, and you get the Sunday scaries very, very fast with that. But I was hoping for a little bit better there, and we have certainly not seen that develop as of yet. All right, Jacob, before I get you out of here, just really quick, what, if anything, needs to change in preseason week 2 so that we can maybe have a little bit better feeling as we talk about this team, after next week's game?
I think it's just intensity level. And I'm not even saying that's LaFleur's fault. Like, a lot of guys want to pin that on him. Like, oh, coach doesn't have them ready. These teams are always this way. They're soft, all that stuff. And you got a 90-man roster. Guys, like, if you don't want to be in the, like, you're intent, like, these guys got a taste of it, right? If you want to make it in the NFL, like, you can't just be lackadaisical. You need to be ready. You need to be locked into play. And it's kind of like if you ever played any, high school athletics or any athletics, like when you have a scout team player and it's a walkthrough and they're the guy out there that's being annoying because they're, hey, God, you chill a little bit. You're playing too hard. They need to be that way. You need to be that annoying guy in the scout team that's going out there playing too hard, because you know what? That's what the Jets did. Like, they showed up and they as a team collectively, that is what they did. The Packers were kind of the varsity player going, oh, hey, yeah, this is preseason. Doesn't mean anything. Just kind of like walkthroughs. And then this guy's out here just repeatedly punching you in the face. And you need to match that level. You can't be too cool. You can't be too casual. You need to come out here. This is NFL football still. Even though, yes, it is preseason, you need to come out with a higher level of intensity, and you need to prove that you belong in this league. Because a lot of the guys that are going to be playing in these next 2 weeks, you probably have a handful of them, Andy, that are going to be on the Packers roster. So the rest of them, you are not, and this is so cliche, you are not just trying out for the Packers. So you need to put good film out there. You need to make sure you are locked in and ready to go. That's what I'm looking for the next 2 weeks. I think it's such an obvious message that I know that those guys get it, and I'm hoping that we see it. And if you remember, I think was it just last year where they came out in week 1 of the preseason and just looked like they were never going to lose a game again, and then the next week they scored 2 points and got their butts kicked, right? So that's kind of the nature of preseason. The script can flip really, really fast. Especially when you have all these young players, all these unknowns. So that's what I'm looking for the rest of the way. They need to pick it up.
I think so too. I think we're going to see a little bit more intensity this week, which I'm looking forward to. Jacob, I know you always bring the intensity. Where can we find all of your incredible work and follow you on social media?
Yeah, I mean, mostly at X is where I'm at, hanging out most of the time, firing off tweets. During the season, I'll have my weekly preview article over at PackerReport.com. Then, as always, during draft season, making sure you're following along for the draft guide and doing all that stuff.
I know you've got morning school coming up now, teaching, so I know we're not going to be able to do this for a bit, but hopefully we can chat on the podcast or something soon. I appreciate everything that you do, my friend. You absolutely kill it every single time, and hopefully we can find a way to talk again soon.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Andy.
Appreciate you a ton. That is Jacob Morley. A huge thank you to him for joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. This is the Pack a Day Radio Show. We got a lot more to discuss right after this.
Yeah, we're going to stick with our process. This is, we feel pretty good about how we've been doing in the past. I think last year, this time, we got a wake-up call versus Denver. So you'd rather have it now than in the regular season, but you got to do something about it too.
Welcome back to the Pack a Day Radio Show. My name is Andy Herman. Thank you so much for joining us today after a lackluster preseason performance on Saturday. That was Matt LaFleur, courtesy of the Green Bay Packers. A huge thank you to Jacob Morley for joining us this past segment as well. Make sure to follow him over on social media at Jacob Morley. Also, we've got the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis coming up 9 to 11 today. And an important PSA for our listeners, the Pack a Day Radio Show is also now a podcast. You can find us anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Catch us the full episode, listen by an individual hour, or jump straight to the highlights. Just open up your favorite podcast app, search Pack a Day Radio Show, hit the follow button so you get every minute of the show your way and on your time. Also, if you're checking us out, it's an easy way to do so on YouTube every day. We got Cheddarhead in the chat that says, "What's up, Andy?" We got Abel Gonzalez that says, "Hello from Arizona." So we've got a lot of ways to check us out, and YouTube is a great way to do that as well. We've got not only the leadoff show, which I want to talk about in just a moment, but as you heard just a moment ago, Isaac Collins coming up on Sparky, 2 p.m. today. Really looking forward to that. He's been on an absolute tear. And then again, we do have the leadoff show as well as the Milwaukee Brewers, not only the hottest team in baseball, the hottest team in sports, the must-see team in anything at the moment. They are unbelievable, and I never want it to stop, Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, it is just incredible. This weekend, we'll talk about it on the Mason Crosby show for sure, but I think this was just the most impressive weekend of the season for the Milwaukee Brewers. And
they just swept the Dodgers a couple weeks ago. Right?
I know. And I love what I saw from this team this weekend. They were down in every game this weekend at some point, and then they cap it off with the 5-run comeback yesterday. It's truly just an awesome summer for Brewers baseball right now.
I always get which of the radio announcers is which, like, messed up in my head. So I don't know if it was Lane or which one it was, but they were down 3-0 early in the game, and he's like, it almost just feels like they're kind of toying with them, like just being like, yeah, you can have you can just like kind of like you can have the lead, like it's not going to matter, we're still going to win later. And I'm like, yeah, that might be right, but like they're going to lose some of these games eventually, and then they're down 5-0, and there's still no panic, and it's they're down with a run in the 8th inning, and they still find a way to win.
Andy, we're back on Burger Watch too. I mean, 9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're back on Burger Watch again. This is the third 8-game winning streak or better this season. No other team has more than one. And the Brewers, we're back on Burger Watch, and it's the Pirates coming in.
What's the number we have to get to? 12?
12.
Okay.
Could be done could be done with this series. 10, 11, 12, right?
I love that. Yeah. Absolutely. And Pirates coming up. They do have some tough teams coming up on their schedule.
Paul Skeen's game 2, Paul Skeen's game 2. So
okay.
Can never count that one out either. But last time he was at AmFam, it was the worst game of his career. So
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It is beyond remarkable at this point what they are doing, and I just want the postseason to start now. That's the only thing that makes me slightly nervous, but I'm not even going to put that into existence. This is a really good baseball team.
Enjoy
that does
the journey.
all the right things.
Enjoy the journey, Andy.
Yes.
And if you haven't, I purchased mine. I don't know when it's coming in, but I bought a Power of Friendship T-shirt too. So I'm all in on the Power of Friendship too, because this is just unbelievable.
I need the pocket pancakes is what I need.
Every
that's
Sunday.
what I got to get to the stadium. Yeah.
Sunday games now, pocket pancakes as well.
Genius. Absolutely genius. Again, Isaac Collins, 2 p.m. Sparky today as well, and the leadoff show coming up later today. Let's get to our Potawatomi Sportsbook final thought of the day, though.
You got to do some smart thinking.
It's time for Andy Herman's final thought of the day.
What are you thinking?
Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
What the hell were you thinking?
You're listening to the Pack-A-Day radio show on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
I want to get to my stock up, stock down players here in just a moment, but kind of my main thought here is no time to panic. Fair to be disappointed in that performance. But to quote Aaron Nagler here for just a second, a lot of ball game left, and this team is not going to be defined by a game on August 8th, 9th, whatever it was. This team will be defined by, again, what happens in December, January, February at the end of this upcoming season. And for those of you who want Matt LaFleur fired and terminated and to change this entire thing around, guess what? If this team that we saw in preseason week 1, if that is the team with that schedule coming up, they're going to win like 3 or 4 games on the entire season if that's actually what does end up happening. So you will have plenty of time to complain and be upset and ask for everyone in the organization to be terminated. So if that is the actual way that they play in the regular season, spoiler, it won't be. But if it is, then again, you'll have plenty of time to go over that. But no need to panic just yet. A lot of ball game left. All right, stock up, stock down. 3 players up: Barron Sorrell, Amar Johnson, Jordan Morgan. We talked about them today. Anthony Belton potentially on that list as well. But I thought those 3 in particular played really good football, helped themselves this past week. Stock down: McCole Hardman for sure, Jacob Monk, and Isaiah Simmons as well. Those 3 have a little bit more work to do following a very disappointing preseason performance. So that is my stock up, stock down after week 1 of the preseason. I think that's my final thought. Tommy, any final thoughts from you today?
Yeah, I understand why people can have both perspectives here, Andy, right?
For sure.
You were looking forward to just getting green helmets and yellow helmets with G's on them in a game where the other team wasn't wearing G helmets either, and that's what you got. And so you were disappointed. I understand, but also, like Matt LaFleur said, much better to just get it out of the way right now. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
Life is about perspective. It's preseason. It's meaningless. Doesn't matter. We're not going to take anything away from this in the long term. Again, we're not going to look back at the end of the year and be like, oh, that first preseason game, knew it right away. Lot of time left. This is not the team that you're going to see. Not even the roster. Not even anything. It's nothing like real football. I talked about this. If you did like a pie chart of what football actually is and what percentage of that the preseason looks like, it's like 5% of football. It's like 5% of what it actually is like in a real NFL week. So it's not to say that they can't get punched in the mouth by Detroit, Washington. Those are going to be two really big games coming up right on the schedule. They got a lot of work to do before that, but get that work in, and I'm really excited, obviously, for those two games to see a real litmus test of where this team is at going into the start of the regular season. All right, we've got the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch and Ellis coming up next, 9 to 11 right here on The Fan. Huge thank you to Tommy, as always. You can find the Pack-A-Day podcast and the Pack-A-Day radio show wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow with Dusty Evely. Nobody breaks down the tape like Dusty. Excited to chat with him, and he'll go through all of the beautiful minutia of exactly what went right and what went wrong in that Saturday preseason game against the Jets. This has been the Pack-A-Day radio show. Enjoy your Monday, and of course, go Pack-Go.